Welcome to the Nordic Mythology podcast. I'm Daniel Farrand of the company Horns of Odin. And before we get to the show, as always, I do have to give a shout out to our Patreon because it is how we keep the lights on, how we keep the podcast going. So if you enjoy the show, please take a second to go over to Patreon/Nordic Mythology podcast. There's a bunch of bonus material that you can get over there. My favorite one is the Q&A that we do with the guests every single week. So you get an extra episode or a little extension of each episode every week where the patrons get to ask questions. And a lot of time there's things that me and Mags have missed. So it's a little bit of a bonus one, but there's tons of stuff, tons of extra information. So go and check them out. And you don't only get going forward, you get the whole back catalogue. So at this point, there must be tons and tons of extra episodes that you can check out. We also have story times with Jonas Lorentzen and Claire Moulet. And there's just tons of stuff. So if you can, go check out Patreon/Nordic Mythology podcast. Starts from £3 a month, which is 10p a day, less than a cup of coffee these days. And if that's not possible, I guess just a like, share, 5-star rating wherever you listen to the podcast. All of that helps boost the podcast, helps new people find it. But yeah, let's get into today's show. So I'm joined by my lovely co-host and in-house archaeologist, Mags Havgar. Mags's audio is a little bit quieter today. She's away at your parents' cabin, is it, Mags?
Our family cabin.
Yeah, the family cabin. And because apparently all Norwegians have a cabin. This is a thing. It's just a thing.
I mean, I at least have the excuse that my dad's family is from this island, so it came through us by blood.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Yep.
Wonderful. And then my guest is a fascinating gentleman. So most people know him as the drummer in Heilung, usually the one who is doing a lot of work, I will say it nicely. You put the effort in. Nice, Chaka Schipper. Chaka, how are you doing?
Thank you for the invite. Good. Here now in the hotel room because we're actually right now on tour with Heilung. And then actually you send the question if I can participate on this podcast, and I was like, wow, let me see. And it fitted perfectly on a free day. Tomorrow we are going forward to our next place where we are playing and opening the circle. So yeah, rolling, working. A lot of things is going on also in my side. We're going to probably talk a little bit later. But yeah, thank you again for the invite and welcome to all the patrons and all the support from people that is actually really supporting behind to making art, podcast, news, and things happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for joining us. You've been on my radar to join for a little while. I've been meaning to reach out, and then when we spoke at Download, I was like, "Yeah, come on, I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna have to reach out. We're gonna have to get it booked and sit down and have this chat."
Yeah. Thank you again. I've been hearing a few of your podcasts. There's some interesting things going on there. I also seen some people that I know pretty close also, so it's fun to see them also there.
Yeah. We've had a lot of the Heilung group on.
Yeah, I've seen that, and also Matthias, and a few people I've been around with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So do you want to give us a little rundown about all the things you do? Because you're not just the drummer of Heilung. You do a ton of other really cool and I think quite important stuff.
Wow, that's where can I start? Basically, I'm passionate of working with people and making research of ancestral and traditions, and also supporting and protection of ancestral traditions. I have my own side project that is basically a moving project that is called ARPI, that is basically 4 letters that means 4 main pillars of life that's been working for me. And I've always said around me that why learning and just putting it into your pocket, and why not sharing it with the world or with whoever? So this has been tools that has been working for me, and I've been kind of building this universe, world, or whatever we want to call it. that is based on the four main pillars, that is awareness, rest, purpose, and interaction. And then we spread those things around with being aware with your surroundings. How are you? What are you doing? How are you eating? What are you eating? Rest. How are you resting? Are you giving also space for yourself from your work, from whatever, but also how much are you sleeping? The purpose can move. A lot of times we say, oh, I want to be a millionaire, blah, blah, blah. And it's a massive purpose, but we are just literally fucking around with things, and we don't believe that we can change them and make things happen and readjust your purpose. And it could be basically just waking up every day. And then the interaction of how you are interacting with yourself, but also how you are interacting with nature, how are you interacting with other people? Actually, who are the people that you're interacting with? So being aware of all these main pillars has been creating this process that I created this world called Arpi, where I have different methods in there, where I, for example, in some of them I use the drum as my main tool. So we gather together, there's different words in there. So for example, a chef uses a knife as his main tool, but I'm showing you how I work with my main tool, that is the drum, but then how you go home and use the tools that's been working for me on your tools. So it's basically not just focused for drummers. So it's basically open for everyone, but we release a lot of things through the drums. Then I have also Breathe In. That is the passion that I've been having lately of free diving and the connection of how these crazy people making free diving, they connect the body and the brain and non really spiritual matter, but they have this super powerful thing. And then also I've been making a course of pranayama that is more in the completely other side, the more spiritual side, and putting those things together. But it's something that I do all the time before I go on stage. And then I was like, why not sharing this, that it came this method for me? So I'm sharing this with more people. Then I have a drum birth where we gather for a whole weekend and we make a drum birth, literally. So we build and we gather together to make the birth of your new instrument. And then the main one, that is the one that I actually enjoy the most, is working one-on-one with people. So I have one-on-one sessions. I pick very small groups because I don't have so much time and I want to really focus on the people. So that's basically Arpi, and it's a constant moving thing that I'm constantly changing and learning new things that I want to share. And then on the side, together with my partner, we open a space that it was born by supporting and protecting ancestral traditions from Ecuador, where I come from, especially with medicines. So it's a retreat that we make once a year. That is a very small thing. It's 2 different weeks for groups of 17 people max, where it's not just plant medicine, it's this reconnecting with yourself, nature, and giving a rest for you. Where my shamans, because I don't serve medicine, that's not my part, even though I've been learning and working very close together with the shamans, that the taitas and mamas, how you call it in Ecuador, that they're working with me very closely in this retreat. They are serving the medicine. I'm just a facilitator where I'm actually putting some of the work of Arpi, like this breathe in, circle, suruna, that is the drum circle that I built. And then the other part is how to use food as medicine, being more aware of what are we eating. For example, that sentence that I use constantly is like, we pay someone to check how we are, what's going on there. Yeah. We should have control of who we are, what we are. And it's quite difficult, no? Because now it's very easy. Let's go there. Let's hear what they're saying, and probably they're right because they're the professional. But this part of understanding more who we are, what we are, and what we're doing to ourselves is quite an interesting path. And also seeing, and there's where the connection with ancestral traditions comes in, where how our ancestors have been living. And yes, some people have claimed and say, yeah, but they were living shorter, but they were living.
Yeah.
and the connection of how to interact better with nature. I'm not saying that that medicine or this how I call them artificial medicine, synthetic medicine, better, is wrong. For me, is wrong the business side. And of not understanding that side, that there's a whole business behind the food industry, the medicine industry, so many things. So that's basically a lot of the areas that I'm doing. You can check in my Instagram. I have there in my link in bio the retreats, and actually for all of you guys here connected right now, I haven't opened it to the public yet. If you can check it in, you can send your application if you're interested in. Grab a pint or a tea. It takes around 15 minutes because it's very important. We are not making this for money. Actually, a big part of the income goes for support of the protection of ancestral traditions from Ecuador.
Oh, nice.
And then another part is to build a space where people can rent it out to make these kind of courses and works and whatever in Ecuador. So yeah, if you don't stop me, I can continue. So you just
wow, that is just whoa, what a pot of stuff. But also just so many cool things. And also what you're saying about, I feel like when you're talking about it, it sounds to me like your ancestral traditions, like what you call ancestral tradition, sounds very similar to me in a term that we use in archaeology called intangible indigenous knowledge, which I think it's so important to preserve. And it's just the tools to actually preserve it has been lacking since, colonialism. So it's just so important.
We can start talking about that if you want. Yeah.
That's just so cool. Like, especially what you're saying with plant medicine and all that stuff.
Yeah. Mama Belina, the medicine woman that is kind of my mentor and a person that she knows me pretty well. I've been working very close with her for the last 10 years. She's a huge voice in Ecuador. She's a fighter. Wow. It's an incredible woman, and she's constantly there working together for fighting for indigenous rights, human rights. Basically, let's put it like that, human rights. And she is working now. That's what we are supporting also. She's making a sense. How do you say that? Like when you count how many people of X amount of things, how many taitas and mamas or shamans are called that by the community, and how many claim themselves to be one. And that's another thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's quite an interesting thing going on there. And I'm not going to say that what is wrong, what is right. I'm just following what has been there for thousands of years. So yeah, that's the space that we are opening. And again, it's not like completely just the plant medicine, this Vidaya. It's kind of giving a small hint of connection. It's basically in Mindo, in a cloudy forest, 2 hours away from Ecuador, in Quito, where I was born, in the Andean region. And basically, we pick you up in Quito, we go in there, and then you come out as, I don't know, whatever you want. All depends of how you learned out of it. But the last one we made, all the people are insanely happy, and that's the biggest payment that I can get. That people feels, shit, that was strong. I don't know what happened, but I need this again.
Yeah.
One point in my life, or my path got clearer or darker, but I know what to do.
Yeah. I think I said to you before the podcast that recently I've been going down more a spiritual path. It's not something I ever really have done too much before. I've kind of dabbled a little bit with meditation, but I fell into a rabbit hole of YouTube videos of like different bits and pieces, and then it kind of just rolled on from there, and just a different way of thinking. And I've spent quite a bit of time over the last couple of weeks just sitting in my own presence and trying to feel my own body in a way and just understand. Because I think that we don't do that as humans anymore. I've never done that. I've never sat, particularly as a grown adult, on my own and just like closed my eyes, breathed, and just listened to who I am or explored like who I am in a physical form. It's always probably been when I was younger, like a little bit silly. You don't do like it's a bit odd. But as a grown up and going down, like I felt such benefit from it, and I would love to take those next steps. But I guess as somebody just getting into it, it's kind of unsure where to go, because I imagine there's a lot of stuff that can be misleading or not quite accurate, or they're purely for a monetary sense. So
exploitative for the sake of, yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
The thing is, first of all, it's amazing that you're doing that. The society that we live in these days, our bodies were not meant to be in the society that we are. In this thing of living in four walls, not seeing anyone, working our asses off for maybe somebody else, or maybe you are trying to get out of that rabbit hole and figuring out your own way, but at the same time you have the pressure of this is how you have to do it, this is what you have to pay, boom, 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 boom. Giving yourself, and I always say you can call it however you want, meditation, grounding, whatever. There's plenty of names. That's what I call in RP rest. Mm-hmm. Pull out yourself of everything what you're doing and just breathe.
Yeah.
Be aware that you are alive. Mm-hmm. You are now, right now, in the now. If you start thinking, so basically the peace of your inner self comes when you stop thinking what happened and what will happen. The moment you figure that out, you are actually in peace.
Yeah, that's it. I think obviously having my business, doing the podcast, I'm trying to do my house up at the minute, and all these other things. I'm so busy looking at what's next for the business. What do I have to buy? What do I have to restock on? What am I making next? Designing next? All of that stuff. And then obviously I have my own things kind of over the last few years in my own personal life that I'm thinking about. And I never take time to just sit and be present in the moment. And that was one of these things that I again, like with the YouTube videos, looking at and like trying to figure out this idea of just being now. And it's even though I guess I kind of need a it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because I needed technology to tell me how to do it, and it's so silly because really I should just know how to do it. You should just know how to kind of.
But there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly, and also I think that just you should know. I think that's putting a lot of responsibility on the individual, isn't it? Because a lot of the stuff that we do now, just like little things, like the fact that that we brush our teeth before we go to bed is something that we're taught, right? Mm-hmm. And if you don't know how to sit and breathe and just be you, that might also speak to the fact that, speaking from personal experience, I was never taught how to do that. No one told me that was an important thing to do.
Yeah.
So how would I know?
Exactly, but that's exactly what the comment. I don't know where they come from. I just see some comments popping out. But yes, not knowing, it's all right. Feeling like shit is all right. What is not right is the suppression, or I don't know, when you suppression, you say that?
Yeah.
Of feelings. And that's what society makes us to do right now. I cannot say that I'm feeling that because my boss is going to kick me out. I cannot say that I actually hate that I fucking hate my job. We are confirmed that we are here right now. Why do I have to make the dream of another person? Why do I have to put myself in a position that I actually feel not good? Now we have all these ADD, HD, bloody, all these terms of people that it comes of a lot of things that is basically proven that it comes of traumas, or it comes because of the pressure of society of things that it shouldn't be there. So that's what I mean. And I can feel it right now. Now I feel it on myself that I get this like, why do we have to go through that? And that's how RP was born, of this thing of, fuck the chill out, hermano. Sit down, bang the shit out of the drum, or let's breathe, because you are alive and you can continue being alive. People comes to our retreat last time, they just said, it changed my life. You changed, no, you changed it yourself. You made something to realize yourself that life is not what you are going through. Life is when you are alive, when you feel this purpose of being alive.
Mm-hmm.
So those are all these things that for me is like, yeah, it's a big passion. Is a big thing that I have, a part of banging the shit out of things that sometimes I don't know where it comes that from either.
The passion is beautiful though. That's the thing you can tell from as soon as this podcast started and you start talking about RP, like the passion is there. It's vibrant.
Yeah, and as I say, I'm not sure what RP is, but what I'm sure is that I have this passion of grab people and take them out of their comfort zone, because comfort zone is not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to say now is a few examples that I do. This thing of not being aware that you're actually walking. Or let's grab the example of Max about brushing your teeth. Go and brush your teeth tonight with the other hand and see how it goes. Then you're going to feel, oh shit, now I'm aware this is fucking difficult. We are in an automatic pilot constantly. And that's the part that is not doing well for ourselves. And I love this thing of pushing people a little bit more of, I'm not saying if you're quiet, that you have to be louder. And sometimes we misunderstand things, that being quieter, louder is because I'm tougher, or quiet, I'm more weak. That doesn't exist. It's more the inner who you are and how you radiate who you are. But sometimes that flame inside of us is just gone. And it goes because we carry massive stones in ourselves that doesn't belong to us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when this thing comes from myself, that I create these different methods, but it's everything that it's been working for me. I never do something that has not worked for me. Vidaya has been a space open of this thing that I want to show the world, that there's First Nations they continue fighting for their rights and their traditions. And that you can actually do this thing that is plant medicines all over the world. Now you can take plant medicine in Europe that doesn't even grow there. But there is still people doing it the way that they have been doing it for thousands of years. And I want to open that space. If there's people that wants to do that, I want to open the space. If somebody wants to chill the fuck out and breathe, let's breathe.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Is this thing, and sometimes this concept of, I have to be spiritual, the hippie, whatever, I'm sitting down, that's too weird for me. I don't want to step in there. It's like, that's what I mean, is society, is this pressure of you have to be like this. You have to do that. If you do the opposite, you are such a weirdo and you get pulled out. And we are in this constant fear of not being accepted.
That's probably what I felt as because I didn't grow up around anything sort of spiritual. I grew up in a very typical British working class household, and I had no spiritual sort of leader or person around me. None of my family are kind of into that. So it was very foreign to me when I first even tried, and I probably did feel like a little bit silly to start with, or like telling my friends or mentioning to people close to me that I know aren't into that kind of, well, is there going to be judgment? Is it unusual? Are they going to think like it's silly, or it's like that hippie type thing? And it is, it's such a shame that that's a mindset that we have.
That's true. And to be very honest, I also didn't grow in that. It was called, I feel, from a necessity of, we humans, we are in the constant search of belonging to something. That's what's called community. We were meant to be in community, but then again, we get ripped apart, and then it was said that You have to be with a couple and make a family and live in your own house and blah, 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 and everything in these four walls and everything like this. And what I feel, my perspective of that is it's much easier to control like that. If you want to control a whole country in different perspectives, just put them in small cases and it's easier. If you have them all together, then everybody communicates by themselves and then a big bang can happen, you know? So
it's harder to break free and have the belief and the courage to do something new when you've got a mortgage, children, a job, a car to pay for, car finance to pay for, the insurance to pay for, all these things that are weighing down. It's a lot more difficult to go, I'm going to start my own business and take this journey.
Yeah, of course. And I'm not saying that it's wrong that you should be working somewhere. If you love what you do, please do. My thing goes more in the other part. Is like, are you doing something that you actually don't like just because it's easier and I can pay my bills? And then when I'm 60, 70, or 80, I will be free and I have some money in the bank so I can enjoy life. What are we talking about? I don't have an easy life. I have a kid. I have a partner. I'm touring the world also. I'm trying to build these projects. Sometimes I also have to pay bills, but it's choosing. What is more difficult? Is it more difficult to wake up early in the morning to train and move your ass? Or is it more difficult when you're suffering and you cannot lift your kid? What is more difficult? It's choices. And that's what we have. When I do these RP circles, when we use the drums and we have groups of maximum 30 people, they come in thinking that they are the only ones that have issues. And they go out saying, wow, I'm not alone. And that's everyone. We are all struggling with something. And that's the thing. We don't talk anymore about it. We just fucking eat the thing and we are suffering by ourselves and we are breaking ourselves instead of talking. Sometimes just opening your mouth to your best friend saying, you know what? I feel like shit. You already feel like, wow, I don't know, 50 kilos lighter just because you're opening yourself and talking. And that's what's happening a lot. And I don't know, I have this thing, let's call it passion for making realize people that they are not alone. And what I call it all the time, we all have a toolbox. Those tools are the ones that we have been going through our life that has been teaching us something that probably, I don't know, who is here? Mo had, I don't know, any type of issues, a car accident that is still in her head and she lost, or he, sorry, I don't know, the best friend. But then through the process of life, you know how to learn that. But I haven't lost anybody. And then suddenly I lose someone. I have already the tool that person is sharing with me how this person went through that. And that's the problem. We just close everything. And that's when you open yourself. And that's what our ancestors did. That's what actually people in communities in Ecuador still do. They meet once, twice a week. They wake up 5 a.m, drink guayusa, and then they talk. How are you? Literally. And then
I really
they see
love
how
that.
the day goes.
Yeah, and I really love that the way that you present that it's such a reoccurring thing that like once or twice a week this happens, because I feel like I must genuinely admit that just like in the broad kind of debate or what have you, I feel like there's been a kind of an opening in a way that like you can to a certain extent be open about having a difficult time now. However, in both my personal experience and what I've also seen is that there's this expectation that, okay, you can talk about having a hard time, but then fix it. And then you're done, right? And now you're good, kind of. And if that thing doesn't fix it, then you're doing it wrong. And I'm like, but can we also just kind of be open to the fact that people might be struggling for a long time, and even if they're in the middle of a struggle, they can have a really good day, but the struggle still comes back, and there's nothing wrong with struggling over longer periods of time, maybe forever, but you can still find peace with the struggle, not giving up, but just finding a new way to interact, but either you're good or you're not. And if you're not, then fix it with like a capital F. Again, this is a biased thing from my perspective, but I feel like it's also like it's really put on the person, like, oh, you're having a hard time. I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh, you're depressed. Well, don't eat sugar. Oh, you still eat sugar? Well, it's your fault.
Yeah, but that's another thing. For example, a lot of people ask me what my painting represents when I'm with Heilung. It's actually three things, but one of them is duality. We need, without duality, you cannot understand what is going on. You cannot understand about light when you don't see darkness. That said, how do you know you're having a good time when you haven't had a bad time? Mm-hmm. The problem is deciding where you are staying and how you handle the situation when you are in that space. When you are in light, let's call it, when everything is happening, everything is shining, wow, enjoy that moment, because you should know that is not forever. And it always will come something that will teach you again. And that's what I mean, is how much you want to stay in that dark side. As we also say, and Mama Belina says, hug the fear. Hug it and understand what's going on. Don't push it away. And that's what happens a lot of time. And that's why I'm not saying you will be healed. That's also a very wow word going on now. Ooh, healing and everything is, you will be healed. And there is a process. There is a whole process in life. And I prefer to say you're learning. You're learning how to be in that process.
I love that.
There is a path, and you get more light in that path, and you can understand more what's going on, and then how you work in that situation. It can be what you said, in 1 year, it can be the rest of your life, but you decide if you want to live in darkness or live in light. Mm-hmm. But these up and downs will always be there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's such a beautiful conversation. We've not even touched on Heilung yet. I knew I knew this would happen, but it is so important. And to attest to what you said earlier about talking, one of the, so for I guess for long-term listeners of the podcast, but so 2 years ago I lost someone really close to me through suicide, and that hit me pretty tough for a long period of time. And one of the things that brought me back out of a pretty dark place was, one, my lovely dog Rocco, because he's the most fantastic little boy that there is. And the other one was which I would like to give them a shout out. It was a local sort of British, well, it's a British charity called Andy's Man Club, and it's a peer-to-peer male support group. And basically it's once a week on a Monday, 7 p.m, a bunch of men just sit around in a circle effectively, and just you kind of go around with some structure and talk about, you say a positive from your week, you kind of say how your week's been, and then you get an opportunity to get something off your chest. And even for me, I kept going long after I felt I needed to, because I got so much worth from trying to speak to others and help them, but also just this value in knowing that you're not alone. As you mentioned before, like knowing that there are other people who have a whole variety of different events in their life that have brought them to this point, and they're all valid. Some of them, maybe to me, I think, well, that's not that bad, but to them, it's incredibly important. And then for some people, there are some that are absolutely horrific, and they've lived, decades carrying it as a seemingly normal life, and then eventually had to come and talk about it. And it's this whole mix of people, and everybody listens, and it's such a beautiful thing to have that moment. And I wish that existed more for people, where you could have that just connectiveness.
Yeah. And that's what I call this, a community, and people sharing the tools of their small toolbox. All of us have that. And hearing somebody else, you can even stay quiet, and just by hearing it, you're like, wow, actually, that's true. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, the amount of time,
and that's just wonderful.
So I went for about a year, and the amount of times, obviously, each group was split up, so you might have had 20 people in a group. The amount of times, so it's not a big amount of people in one group. But the amount of times that somebody would be speaking and there would be another person in the group, and you could just see in their face of like, oh my God, this person has been through exactly the same thing as I have. And they clearly had spent their whole time thinking their situation was exclusive to them. And this kind of just weight and lift of just somebody else understanding. And it was such a beautiful thing. And I really do love the work that they do. And in broader sense, just I think that everybody should try and maybe do that a little bit more.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. So let's get on to Heilung a little bit, and we'll I'm sure
of course.
We'll feed all of this in.
Oh yes.
let's start at the beginning then. Maybe how does a man from Ecuador end up in a Scandinavian Scandinavian band? How does that happen?
That's actually a quite cool story. A lot of people see me up there and it's like, wow, that guy must have the best life ever, blah, blah, blah. There is a process for things always. And I had some very rough times when I arrived to Denmark. So my lovely partner, she's Danish.
Oh, okay.
And that's the reason why I ended up in Denmark.
So did you meet in Ecuador or?
Yes, we meet. Yeah, we meet in Ecuador. She was volunteering there, working actually with kids. Kids that the moms were working at the local market, and instead of there being there, they went to a small like kindergarten that it was kind of ruled by volunteers. And then she was the pub, and I ended up in that pub because it was that's another day. I'm gonna talk the complete story of that one.
Okay.
But at the end, I had already a flight ticket to Germany, one way, and then in the middle of those 3 months until my flight, I met Silly. And then I was like, okay, why not trying? The ego was talking there, like, wow, super big. I did it in Ecuador. I did this. I will arrive to Denmark and I will find a job immediately. Sure, that didn't happen.
Okay.
It was insanely difficult. I arrived to Valby, that is a small city, a small town outside of Copenhagen. And then we went to the local street party, and there was a Latin band playing. And that was, I don't know, it was, I just moved in there.
Yeah.
And I was like, I need to talk to them. I need some work. I've never worked for anybody else than myself all my life. And it was it was a tough year. And that was Alex Opasu, my really, really good friend from Chile. He's also a drummer from Heilung. He was also now with us in Roskilde. He has a lot of other projects, so he joins here and there sometimes. And I told him, like, hermano, I need a job. What can I do? And he was like, yeah, I keep him writing. I wrote him, and I wrote him, and again and again and again. And then 1 year later, he tells me, okay, there is this gig. It's not really playing music, but it's kind of related, and knowing you will figure something out. And I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, yeah, you have to drive some gear of the band that I'm playing with. That band is Heilung, from Copenhagen to the UK. And I was like, okay, I don't know. And then that year I went from working in construction, cleaning toilets, working in a warehouse, then making sandwiches. A whole year that I was just like, I got a baby in between that year. So I was like flipping out, what the heck should I do? And I don't know, when there's a mission, I just have to accomplish the mission, but I'm working harder to get out of the place that I don't want to be.
Did you do music in Ecuador?
Yes, I've been working. I studied music. Then I went to Spain to make a a master's in global entertainment and music business. And then I went to Ecuador again. I was teaching there at the local university. And then is when I reached that top. I was like, okay, I have a European passport. Why can't I should go and try? I have so many friends that they will die to go to Europe.
Yeah.
I don't want to reach 50 and say why I didn't try it. And that's how I came to all this process then.
Yeah.
And then Martin called me, Martin Skoll, now the actual tour manager and one of the warriors of Heilung. And at that point, he was tour managing, but that was the last time he tour managed because it was, in that moment, it was just too much for him. And he called me, he's like, yeah, you have to drive this. And then we started talking about the economical side. And I was like, I'm not going to drive all that shit. I have a just born kid. My daughter was, I think, 3 months. And my partner was just like, go. You will figure something out. And I was like, no. And then she said, just fucking do it. And I was like, okay.
Women always know what's best.
Yeah, that's another story. But the shamans and healers and things, I have to say, the best ones I've ever had has been my family.
Yeah.
And then I remember Christopher and Maria comes with the famous White Walker that was the old car of Kai. And I was like, what the heck am I transporting? As a Latino, you never take something without checking where you're taking it.
Yeah.
And then, you have to take some shields and spears. It was like, what the fuck is this? And and then it was like, okay. We remember we had a very small apartment in Holbeck, and Nola was sleeping, and Christopher Maria comes in. I was like, you have to be quiet because if she wakes up, it's going to be a whole chaos. And that was the first time I met them. And then I took the job. I took the car. I drove. I was like, okay, let's take it as an experience. I drove all the way alone. I went to Holland, and then the whole experience of crossing to the UK, driving in the other side for the first time, it was wow. A whole crazy thing.
Were you on your own? Or did you
alone.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
that is impressive.
The thing is, that's what I mean. Sometimes I just see the goal and I don't see what is going to happen in the middle. And I see it as an adventure and I really enjoy it. But when I see back, I'm like, wow. And then I have some stops of the police and trying to explain them. Yes, I have weapons, but wait a second, it's just a theatrical, musical experience. Let's call it like that. And we're already standing there like, yeah, it was quite an interesting trip. And then I arrived, and then I think in London. I don't really remember what was the first one, but it was somewhere in England. And there I could see there were a lot of things going on stage that nobody was really doing. Labels on stage that are not sponsoring, cables all over the place, somebody having a schedule of timing, ins, outs, talking to security, fire, all these logistics things that I've been doing for myself. I've never done that for anybody else than myself in my projects in Ecuador. Because there you don't have a stage manager, but you have to make tons of money. And that's very weird that you have something like that. So you have to do all your shit yourself. So I was doing everything what I did for myself when I was on stage. And the ceremony starts and I start just making this, guiding everyone, boom, boom, boom. And I was literally hired for a driver and all of them didn't knew me. It was Christopher, Alex, and Maria that knew me personally, and then all the other 25 other people that was there, nobody really knew who I was. So suddenly comes this guy pointing at them what to do, and it was like, what the heck? And then I remember Christopher tells me, like, come here. And I was like, shit. My head started rolling all over the place. Like, you were just hired as a driver. What the fuck are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay. And then he told me, in Scotland, I think it was in Glasgow, you're going to do the same, and then I need to talk to you when we come back to Copenhagen. And that's how I had just one job as a driver for Heilung, and then I jumped in as I got called the ritual manager because I was taking care of a lot of things personally of people, and then a lot of the logistics, what was going on, and then also sometimes the shitty part of the work of helping to pack all the things and being the guy, kind of some things of stage management, but it wasn't. Yeah, it was a huge blend of a lot of things. And like that, I was touring since 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I came in as part of the tribe. And yeah, I could feel that we matched in a lot of ways because I am who I am and I don't fucking care what people think about me. I try to be as respectful as I can with people. But I remember the other day, actually, Christopher, I completely forgot because that's normal for me, but I just ordered a whole chicken, a pint, and that was my meal. And he was like completely shocked that I ordered a complete chicken and, and a whole pint, and that was my lunch. And he was like, this guy, this is one of us, kind of. And yeah, and that's how I kind of came in to the project. And I actually didn't knew who Heilung was.
Yeah.
It's funny to say because before I left Ecuador, I saw the video, the live performance in Casifest. It had, I don't know, a couple thousand views.
Mm-hmm.
And I was telling to my band, if you want to do something, you have to, it's a fucking hell. We have to do something that people is going to come and see. And it's a whole experience. We have to feel. And I remember I showed, this is what it is. That was my first time that I had somehow a contact, but I didn't knew Heilung. I just saw a video and I was like, this is what I took it as an example.
Yeah.
Because what I was doing, I was making a band fusion of Celtic, because I have my grandpa is from England and my grandmother is from Scotland. And I had this connection with Celts and Celtic music and stuff with traditional music from Ecuador. So I built 2 projects in Ecuador, and then when the project I couldn't make it that they get into my head, and I completely understand that is not easy. And that's when I said, I'm out of here, I need to figure out something else. And that's when I moved to Europe. But that was kind of the first time that I knew something about Heilung. And then I moved there. 1 year later, Alex contacts me that I should drive this gear, and then I went into Heilung.
Mm-hmm. How did you become the iconic man at the back with the drums?
That was actually because Alex couldn't come to Red Rocks the first time.
Wow.
And then Christopher gives me a call, and I was begging him. Literally, I was like, hermano, I don't do this shit. I'm tired. And he was like, I'm not going to change you because you are great at what you're doing and I cannot find it. And I was like, wow, there was actually a point that I had already in my head the thoughts of quitting the project because it was too much for me. This thing of willing to play drums. I've been playing drums since I don't know when. And then standing just on the side and I'm like, what am I doing? Exactly what I said before, this thing of like, I'm doing this because I have an expectation that's a huge thing. Expectations is a thing that I work a lot with that is not really happening. But the thing is, then it actually happened because I was communicating constantly all the time. When we went out for food, I was, Christopher, when am I being the drummer? I want to play drums. I'm here, boom, boom, constantly. And then at one point, he calls me, he's like, are you ready? And I was like, for what? I need you to play the drums because Alex cannot come to Red Rocks. And I was like, yeah. Well,
that's got to be scary because that's such an iconic place as well.
Yeah, and that was the thing. That was my first time. And I've never made a rehearsal with a complete band.
Okay.
Well, that's like sink or swim
there in front of,
situation.
I don't know, so many thousand people, more than 9,000 people. I was like, okay, shit, fuck it, let's do it. And I took some drums from Ecuador, and that's what it is now. I have the honor to build an altar that is based from Ecuadorian instruments and tools and things, and I can work and express, I feel, myself through the drums
Wow.
and share it with all my brothers and sisters from Heilung on stage.
Mm-hmm.
That for me is a huge thing. I do this for the people that's coming to see us.
Mm-hmm.
That's my main reason.
Yeah, it is such a beautiful experience to see you guys live. It's an experience. It's not just, you're not going to see a music show. It's a full.
The thing is that that's what we do. So of course, the spiritual side of Heilung is in a lot of different levels inside of Heilung. There's some people that they respect more that, and they are like, I'm not at all on it, but I feel it's something. And then there are others that we are really, really into it, and that's what it is for me. For me, is what I represent in my colors is duality. I represent Wairuro. That is basically the paintings of these seats that I have here.
Mm-hmm.
That comes from Ecuador.
Mm-hmm.
That is basically the same seed is used by First Nations, that it represents health, it represents, gives you luck. And then the other part is the constant fight of First Nations, especially from the territory where I was born in Ecuador. I'm a mestizo. And I call it a citizen of the world because I am a huge blend of things, and I'm proud of accepting it, even though it's been very hard for me, because that was also a huge learning of this thing of willing to belong to somewhere. But then in Ecuador, I'm the Chilean guy. Then I'm in Chile, I'm the Peruvian guy. Then I was in Germany, I'm whatever guy. Then I'm in Denmark, I'm a guy from Iran. And I take it as a learning. I take it as I'm proud of this learning path that I'm in. And that's what I represents, the two colors. And for me, when I paint myself, already when I put myself the painting, the makeup, there it starts already my ceremony. So a lot of people ask me, how do you get that energy, or what is it? Of course, I work. I have in RP, I also show in my Instagram, I'm sharing a lot of my tips also. But it's a lot of natural thing that everybody can do. But at the same time, I really believe there is the universe transmitting something extra, that sometimes I have feelings that I don't know actually where they come from. And for me, this thing of being in exactly that, a Scandinavian, North European project, and that we start saying, remember that we all are brothers, and that we are sometimes 17, 18 nationalities. Everything, actually, the project Heilung started with two people from South America. One, Juan Pino, he is from Ecuador, half Swiss and Ecuadorian. Then Alex Opaso. So it's beautiful to see that there's always been, and apparently that's part of the recipe of Heilung, that there is always a Latino involved in this. And for me, representing where I come from, that I'm proud to say that I'm not pretending to be any Viking or
I love that.
a Germanic person on stage. That a lot of people write me in this misunderstanding, or they write me, I'm so proud of being 0.01% Viking. And I'm like, first of all, that's not the area where we are. Yes, we work with some Nordic things that could be related to that, but this Germanic Northern European project. And I'm not any of that. Yes, I have roots. Yes, as I mentioned before, but that's what I mean. We are from all over the world, and the honor of building my altar, that's what I call it, the set, with such beautiful people, and then having such other beautiful people that is coming to see us, that's for me the biggest, and showing that there is amazing instrument, that there's a whole culture down there. Yes, now because it's all this Viking vibe in all over the world, but there is so much traditions and so much things going on down there in South America, Central America, and North America also. That's what I try to represent, and that's for me. So I'm thankful with Heilung that they accept me who I am and they hear me. Most of the circles, I don't lift a antler that is from the north. I lift or a condor feather or an antler that is from a deer from South America. It's like this reconnecting of where you feel that you are from. You don't need a title. You don't need to make a DNA test and believe that you are this and that and the other thing. So yeah, it's a beautiful path, and having the honor that to also work with Ecuadorian luthiers and companies. My symbol, the symbols that I use is a sponsor that I have from an Ecuadorian company, the first Ecuadorian company that makes cymbals. The drums that I have is from luthiers from there, that some of them have now skins. For example, my left drum, it broke with the first, it was a deer skin from Ecuador, and it broke. Now I have it hanging in the front because it was the first one that I played with Heilung. So it's continuous with me in the path, but not playing anymore. But then I got as a gift a kangaroo skin when we were the first time in Australia, and that's the one that is on now. So it's this thing of the spirits of the trees, the animals, and where I come from, they are all there. And that's what I mean. It's not just me. It's the surroundings, is the space. And honoring the space where I'm playing for me is very important. Honoring the First Nations that has been there, knowing that there was people there that has to be remembered. I'm actually the person that is now in charge in contacting First Nations to open the space for us when we are in land of First Nations. So it's a very important thing for me. And I'm also very honored because I learned so much. So yeah.
That's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. And then the focus on First Nations too. Oh.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's a very important thing for me. And I got it was Maria and Kai doing it before. And then I asked them, you have a lot on your shoulders. I will be honored to take that job. And of course, for me being in South America and having a deep connection and working there with First Nations a lot of years, also I've been volunteering, working with them. I feel that I have a approach of understanding the side of their needs. I will never understand, because I'm not from their region, but I have the understanding of the importance of it. And for me, building my altar in a space that there has been First Nations and they are not being acknowledged, that doesn't work for me. Mm-hmm. So it was a good connection that I'm working and taking that path or making that happen. So for example, when we were in the US, we invited different tribes from different territories there, and also learning so much. Then in Australia, it happened again, in learning that we are so close. We walk like this from a huge world. Now with social media and everything, we could learn so many things, but we are more worried on all the bullshit than actually worrying about the things that there. In the 60s, you could still get a license in Australia to kill First Nations. Go and hunt First Nations. When I learned that, I teared down. I couldn't believe it.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. But those part of learning from them is I've been learning, and each time in Turtle Island in North America, there is Nishoni. That's what I try to work is we have one head representative of First Nations from the territory, and then I work closely with that person, and then he makes the contact as a First Nation from the territory to the territories that we're gonna go, and then we try to figure out to make it as much as possible in the territories that we can. Sometimes then I came with the concept of that a whole tour is a ceremony. So we make an opening of the ceremony with First Nations, and then we make a closing of the ceremony with Heilung with them. Because, of course, there is also a economical thing involved in there, because we don't want that they feel used because there's a lot of companies and private corporations that they just come and it's just a marketing tool. For us is much more than that. For me personally, I'm going to talk for me personally. That's very important. I know for Heilung also, but for me is a very important thing. And having this communication about money, and then but actually you guys are connected. You are one of us. You do the same shit like us. And when that happens, it's just so beautiful, because they have this thing in Australia. It happens so much. In Nordic, it's crazy. It's one time it was like, okay, come here. I do my words, pay me, and I get out of here. And we're like, wow. And that's what sometimes they're used to. And now having this interaction and communication with them and communicating with them, that we are actually trying to make it happen and make a real acknowledgement that for us is important. That you come, present yourself, dance what you have to do, sing, call your spirits, call your ancestors, give us a welcome, and then we share and dance all together, and we call our ancestors and spirits, and we all rise together as one.
So beautiful. I love that.
So
I also think that's so cool, considering that since Heilung is often, perceived to be this like proto-Viking whatever, I think that aspect of the contact with the different First Nation communities in the areas we're playing is particularly beautiful and interesting, because the Viking age and Viking, I'm saying that in heavy quotation marks, symbolism is often used in a way that demeans and invalidates First Nation perspectives. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's so cool that especially you also have that like very conscious focus of like, no. We're in their area. They deserve to be seen and known and acknowledged. And they're a part of the world, just like we are. We are all, like you said, we're all brothers. We're all sisters.
Yeah, and to be very honest, if governments would work with First Nations together, the world would look completely different.
Oh, yeah.
Completely different. And I have a whole theory that I feel that is kind of what is happening again. Well, that's another story about civilizations and how history is just written down and pretending to be something that's what it is, and not continue making research of things and that. But it's a important thing, and that's what I also do. For example, with RP, when I was in Turtle Island in the US, there I was with Matthias Novi, that you guys know. We made a workshop of 2 days, and that's what I mean, that is a working thing, a rolling thing, this RP, because it's kind of, I made this for also learning. And yes, I know some part of the Nordic part, but I know this much for what Matthias knows. And for me, opening the space, and then why not opening for more people? So then we opened the space with Nishoni, Apache person, with Raya, that she's also First Nation, and they made a beautiful talk about how to how was it? It was called how not to appropriate First Nations traditions, but how to respect it. Mm-hmm. And they made a beautiful talk, and they made a workshop of how to build their own smudging kit. And then Matthias talked about runes and how to use runes in different methods and different spaces. And then I talked about arpi. I made a suruna drum circle, and it was amazing. It was just, and that's what I mean, that I'm trying that to do also now in Australia and New Zealand, to open a project like this, because I want to know with the First Nations that I'm going to be working with, and I want that other people can also come and join me in this adventure of learning, and especially from them, that they have been pulling traditions for thousands of years for the people that's been always there. So it's exciting and nice, and I have, and as you can hear, I have these passions of learning from First Nations, historical things. I have these one-on-one sessions when it's live and it's not online. I use ceramic whistles, different. They're actually original 4,000 years old pieces. That before there was not a 440 hertz square for instrumentation, so they heard something, they built it, and then they made it. And then you can figure out that actually some whistles they pair each other, and you can play together with another person. And hearing the sounds that are so old, and that there came the connection also, this thing what we're doing with Heilung, that is kind of the same. But I'm doing things that are pre-Columbian, from South America, and then I ended up in this project from Scandinavia that has been also putting words down that is also fucking old. So it's like this historical side that is quite interesting, and I love to put them again alive.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yeah, it feels like Heilung just attracts similar people. It brings together wherever you're from in the world. It doesn't matter. If you have the right mindset, then it's going to pull you in. It's like it's got its own gravitational force almost, and it just brings in all these wonderful and amazing people who appreciate everywhere they go.
Yeah, but that's also the beautiful thing is like we've been playing some now in this round of festivals. I'm like, wow, this is at all the group of festivals that we've been. So we've been from jazz festival to pop festival to metal festival, and everywhere there is crowds in all ages, all it's from different parts of the world, and it's just so amazing. It's so. Yesterday there was a little girl. I wish that I could know her name to say some greetings here, but she was just enjoying it. It was just I just played in front of her, banging the drums, and I could feel her energy just going through the drums. Also, I was like, yes. It was that much that I went down when we finished. I went down and I said, thank you for coming to this little girl, because she transmitted her energy, and through myself, it was just so amazing. And that's what I mean. Sometimes, one time I remember there was a elder woman that I was like so impressed that she was actually there. She was walking with this, how do you call it when you break a leg?
Like
Cast?
no,
like a cast?
A crutch, like a support,
crutch.
Yeah, crutch.
A crutch, yeah. And I was like, and then sadly she just grabbed one hand to the fence, and then she lifted this other, and I could see she was slowly kind of falling out and continue. I was like, wow. And that's what I mean. That's what it fulfills myself. This passion of what I do is because of people like them, people that is coming. Yesterday in this festival rounds, we never know what's going to happen, because there's a lot of people that actually never know who we are. And yesterday, it was a whole 10 people screaming Heilung. I got just goosebumps. I was like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And people that you don't imagine of the fans that come and the other musical styles that are there. And then suddenly Heilung is again there. And yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah. That was that. I think I spoke to you about this when I saw you at Download, that was one of my favorite things, was seeing people who had no idea who Heilung were stumbling upon your set, and then just almost been frozen in their steps. And we saw he had like an artist badge on. I don't know what band he was in or what he was there for, and he kind of came in a little bit cocky and stood next to us, and he was almost before he realized, he was a little bit, I would say, not critical, but a little bit like jokey and laughing about it, like, 'cause it's something different. And then he stayed through the whole set, and you could see by the end he was like watching how tight he was musically, and like talking to, I guess, maybe like his manager or whoever he was with, and you see him like talking about the drums and like trying to figure out how you guys were doing it and all the different parts, and you had this such appreciation by the end, and it was this such a beautiful moment of like, oh, you came in like kind of thinking this was a bit silly, but you've left really respecting it and understand that it is something that's much deeper than, you know, some people just jumping around on stage.
Yeah. It happened actually in download also. I went to grab a sparkling water at this where we met at this place there.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile I was waiting, I turn around and the guy starts talking. He's like, and he asked me, "Did you saw this band of these guys?" And like, and I was like, "Yeah, actually, I saw them. What do you think about it?" And then he's like, and then she looks at me and is like, "But wait a second," because sometimes it's quite difficult to get out of the eyes this makeup, and sometimes I still have the red and black. And he was like, "But wait a second, you are the guy of the drum." I was like, "Oh, you caught me." and they were like, we were actually there for a mistake. That's what they said. We were just waiting. We thought that it was the band that we were coming for, and then it was you guys, and we actually stayed the whole thing. We don't know actually what happened, but we want to come. And I was like, "Wow, great, thank you." And for me, the first answer, it was like, "We are coming on tour again. I hope you can join us for a whole ceremony, because here we don't have the time to make a whole ceremony of 2 hours that we normally do. That there is where you kind of really dive into what's going on." But yeah, this thing of, I actually don't know what I was looking at, and it was a mistake, and I stayed. Basically, kind of what you were also saying. It was funny to have it right there with them and asking me, and this like suddenly like, "Oh, you are the drummer?" Like, yeah.
Okay, we'll wrap up shortly. I could sit and talk to you for.
So I don't have anything else to do.
This is so much fun. I guess I have two questions left for me, and then we'll let the patrons ask you some. One, firstly, like, how do you pull everything you do with RP and like the spirituality side? How do you pull that into your performance? I know you said obviously when you're putting your makeup on, that's kind of your ritual and starting. But is there anything else that kind of comes into that, and how you kind of, I guess, center yourself, get yourself ready, pull in your past?
Thank you for the question. I have kind of like you can call it a ritual, even though people a lot of times things is like, "Oh, he's gonna be jumping around and doing weird things." But I make this, now I call it breathing. That is the method that I want to share with more people. It's basically a type of meditation. I would call it like that I spend 5 to 10 minutes in it, where I breathe and don't breathe.
Okay.
So I stop myself, like I pull it down to 1 minute to 2 minutes without breathing, and then I make a deep breath again. It's a little bit difficult to explain the process, but that's the method that I'm doing now. Then I warm up. I make some different exercises for the body, because I made a course in functional training, and I'm very passionate on understanding how the body actually works, that we were not meant for lifting 280 kilos, and it's the ego lifting and not yourself. And I learned it by myself by almost fucking up my sciatica. So
I used to lift silly weights when I was younger. That was one thing. But you're right. It was an ego thing, because I wanted to be the biggest, and I wanted to be the strongest.
Do you even lift, bro?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Like that's what I did. And I got to a point where I was like, this is silly, because if it goes wrong,
that's what I did also. And then I discovered this thing, like, we were not meant for lifting crazy weights. We were meant to for walking, running, jumping, throwing, those kind of things. So that's what I do. I have some specific exercises that I do. And I make a body scan, kind of. Then if I have the possibility, I always ground myself in nature. So I can find a piece that is connected to ground. If there's trees or whatever, I go there for a few minutes also. So I have like half an hour before each ceremony. I would say 45, because then I'm 10 minutes before already standing ready, focused. I put my in-ears in, and then I'm just ready to roll. Then I make this work. Then I make a breathe in again. Sometimes I take medicine, tobacco, to connect with the spirit of the tobacco. That is made by Mama Belina.
Wow.
And then I actually greet everyone and say thank you for being there and allowing me to be there. And then Kai goes and makes his things, and then I'm in.
Ready to go.
That's already, this what I just said is already when I'm painted.
Okay. So you get painted
When
before,
I'm-
and then
Yeah.
do you feel like that's because you actually, again, you mentioned about duality before. Do you think that when you're painted, it's almost like it's not you, or do you still say very connected to like the you before you get painted? Is it like almost a transformation into something else?
That's actually a very good question, because I'm not sure. Because I would say I am who I am. But the thing is, when I'm with my drums, and as I say, sometimes I don't know what is actually happening.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it also comes this thoughts like, what am I doing? Or why I'm not sitting and enjoying my daughter. It's normal. It is how it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, you are on service, and what you're doing. And then when I'm with my daughter, I'm with my daughter.
Oh.
And now I'm giving everything what I can for the rest that is out here, and for the ones that are also not out here.
I think that's a perfect way to circle this back and wrap up the main show, because it's that going back into the present moment again, and being present, and being, we all need to do it a little bit more. Just stop, breathe, notice where you are, feel the wind through your hair, feel the ground at your feet, feel anything on your skin, and appreciate that, rather than thinking about the ifs, whats, maybes of life, because it's so easy to do.
I completely agree with your words there.
Perfect. Max, do you have anything you wanna ask before we jump over and let the patrons ask some questions?
Nothing specific right now. I really want to thank you for coming on, Chaco, because this is so cool. And also, like, I've actually never seen you guys live, which I now find to be a fault, since it keeps coming up in conversation. But now it's just getting more and more to the point where I'm like, I have to see you guys live now.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so excited about it. I have no plans specifically, but it's going to happen at some point.
We'll
next year.
We'll make it happen.
Yes.
We have a big pause, but I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, we'll make
Next
it
year,
happen.
we'll make it happen.
Yeah, we'll make it happen. Yeah, Chaka, I'm gonna have to speak to you off air. I want to do something in some way, whether it's a one-on-one, come to a retreat, or work and support what you do. Yeah, I think you're a fascinating, really wonderful human, and love all the stuff you do, and it's incredibly important. So can you let people know where they can find you, follow you, support you, learn a little bit more about the man?
Of course. First of all, thank you, Daniel, for making this happen. And again, I'm here on service. I'm here to share what I've been learning. And if somebody cannot step or fall down because I'm sharing some tools, and at least the fall is not so hard, that's what makes me be alive. So thank you for the invite and opening space and talking a little bit more about what people is not really talking. Because that's not just me right now. It's also in other of your podcasts I've also heard. And it's just beautiful to hear a different perspective of different things. Then about where to find me, I would say Instagram, that's the place. It's Schipper Music. Then in there you can find all the things. Maybe we can put it when this goes live. We can put there the information.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I would say Instagram. Then there's also a website for Vidaya Communities and Journeys. That is the retreats in Ecuador for 2025. Then rpsharingcircle.com. That one is for all my RP things, but it's mostly in my Instagram, Schipper Music, where I'm constantly sharing things, and we're actually opening a little bit more myself in there with the tools that I work on and that has been supporting me. I have also a subscribed version that I'm really trying to be more active in there, but it's just this balance of how much time you spend in this electronical world, but trying not to depend on it is quite. I'm still learning on that process, but if sharing, that would be the biggest thing, and support for me. I want to reach more people. I want that the right people comes to the retreat. I want that the right people that is ready, willing to do something to work on a one-on-one session with me. I'm very happy to make that happen, but it's not just because it sounds interesting. It's because you actually want to make a change for yourself and you appreciate what we're doing. So those would be kind of the things that I'm rolling on.
Perfect. Yeah, wonderful. Well, like I said, we're going to wrap this up and let the patrons ask you some questions for about 15, 20 minutes. If you like if you like the podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating, positive review wherever you get your podcast. And then to follow us, it's just Nordic Mythology Podcast across all the different channels. And don't forget YouTube if you would like to see all our beautiful faces. And then for me personally, it's Daniel_Farrand1 or at Horns of Odin. And I think that's it. So, Chaco, thank you.
Can I plug mine?
Oh, Max, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No worries. It was just fun that you forgot. Mine is Instagram, Archeomags, Archeo with a K.
I'm so sorry. I got carried away. It's because I went to YouTube for the last question. I completely forgot. I do apologize. Chaka, thank you so much. I know this one will be a lot of fun for people. Everyone's gonna love this, even though it's not the most Viking episode we've done. It's there's so much.
That's the ones that I love the most.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I'm not one.
Me too. me too though. Me too. Like I love these. I'm so grateful that I get to do this podcast and talk to so many interesting and fascinating and beautiful people. It's amazing. I love it.
And if someone is interested in pre-Columbian things, I also love to talk about that. I have my whistles and all these tattoos that I just made here.
I have some questions for you about that for the Patreon thing now afterwards.
Cool.
Let's do it.